Live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing well. Don't be a stranger and say hi in chat. I see there's already a bit of a discussion in there. So tonight we are doing our monthly community event in which I bring a number of people to talk about the EU and play a bit. So last month, actually it was the opening stream on the channel, we talked about whether the EU had its place at all on a platform like Twitch. And tonight we're going to talk about how people actually see the EU both within the bubble and outside. So for this, I gathered, as usual, a crack team. So on the EU expert side, alongside myself, even if you can call me an expert, I don't claim that title, we have Pablo Perez, so a digital and political communication advisor, who also was the head of social media at the European Commission. So Pablo, welcome. Can you tell us a bit about, well, what is it that you were doing back when you were working in the Commission, and a bit of what you're doing now?
Hello everyone, and thank you. I will call you an expert in the EU, but I used to work in the Commission, of course, for some time, 7 years in total, and I had the opportunity and the chance, and I was lucky to, be able to lead the social media work of the European Commission there within the institution. And basically what I was doing was to, from a strategic point of view, to build up, let's say, the narrative and the messages in order to, make the EU closer to the people, and also to inform and trying to engage, as well, of course, as, trying to make the politicians, let's say the main figures of the European Commission, to participate on that conversation online, to be active on social media, to tell them how to have some kind of impact, and basically, to be there for them also. If they might have a question on how to upload a picture, or how to put a video, or how to, or even, there are different levels, of course, of users, but it was a role of also assisting them and helping them to influence. It's helping, the influencers, the real influencers in life, to influence also in the conversation online.
I can relate to that as an ex-MEP assistant. I can relate to the whole assisting part. So thank you again for being there. Then it's going to be the main attraction of the night is that on the non-Eurobubble side, I chose not to kidnap random people from the street. Apparently it's an illegal thing, but rather to take volunteers from my Discord server to tell us about how they see the EU. So we will have 3 different people tonight. And speaking of Discord, do not hesitate to join my server. The link is my bio, and I'm actually going to post it in the chat. But anyway, so all of our 3 other guests, while they have a strong interest in the EU, they actually have never set foot in Brussels, so they are very much outside the bubble. So first we have Mikkel, who is a game developer from Denmark. So Mikkel, welcome, and can you tell us a bit about how you met the European Union?
Hi, yeah, I'm Mikkel, and I met the European Union by through no fault of my own being born in it, and then later realizing that apparently my member state Denmark is part of a larger civilization state called the European Union. And now in my adult life, while making video games, I have taken a larger nerdy interest in the bubble that is the Commission, Parliament, etc. And so I find myself on Discord servers and other internet forums like the MEP Assistance Discord server, and so here I am.
All right, great to have you here. Then, well, like you said, Mikkel, you were born inside the EU, but that's not the case of everyone here, because you have Tuberg, who is a Turkish student. So I'm actually really happy to have you tonight, actually, Tuberg, because I'm really interested to hear from a non-EU perspective. So on your side, as a Turkish, so not a European Union national, can you tell us a bit how you came to get interested in the EU?
Thank you for this event, Map Assistance. I actually came first to the topic of EU through my courses as I study international relations. So my first journey with EU started like that. Then I saw, oh, what a nice union. Then I got interested more to learn about the EU. Then in the end, it led me to the win my scholarship funded by the EU Jean Monnet Scholarship. So I mean, actually, as a candidate country, Turkey, EU gives much attention to also Turkey. So actually, I am a non-EU, but still we have potential for being EU. Maybe
Yeah.
in future.
You're,
I hope so.
You're definitely on the threshold, and we'll be able to discuss about it. And welcome again. And finally, to complete our team of wonders, we have Owen, who is also a student, but from Ireland. So I'm sure that on your side, the EU has been quite a topic of discussion in Ireland for over the last 5 years. But before that, can you tell us a bit about how the EU entered your life? Because I understand that you're also a bit of an activist.
Yeah, sure. So I just want to say thanks for having me on. So in Ireland in general, even before the whole Brexit debacle, the EU is very prevalent in day-to-day life here. You'll be very hard to find a piece of infrastructure, even in my small town, that isn't partially funded by the EU. And here, I'm not sure how it works in other countries on, our roads, our schools, our government buildings. We have a sign with the EU flag that says, this project was funded by the European Union. So it's very much a part of, day-to-day life in Ireland, seeing what the EU brings to the country. So from very young, I was kind of very noticeable to what the EU is and what it brings to us. And then obviously with the genius that is Brexit, we kind of see the EU again very prevalent in Ireland. So yeah, it's been very busy for Ireland and the EU the past few years.
Yeah, I'm sure that, and unfortunately, it's unfortunately or fortunately, it's not over. I'm sure that there will still be a keen interest in Ireland about the EU. So that's it for the presentation, and before we move ahead, just a couple of housekeeping rules. So the goal of tonight will be to have a bit of a debate, so don't hesitate to ask questions or to challenge the different views that are expressed tonight. But as always, let's just make sure that we only speak one at a time so that the viewers can follow it easily. And chat on your side, do not hesitate to give your opinion or to ask questions. I will be keeping an eye on the chat, and I will be sharing your insight with the others whenever appropriate. So during our discussion, and to avoid having you just watching a PowerPoint again, we will be playing some Fall Guys together. Except for Tuberg, who will just be participating to the discussion. So you will see it's a fun little game. Oh, just housekeeping rule number 3: don't forget to mute yourself. And yeah, so the Fall Guys game you will see is a fun little game, nothing very hard to do. I'm terrible at the game. I already won the other, so chat, you can already press F. And on this note, we can jump in the game. So I will start the game myself. So you can see we have nice little characters. I will just go quickly in the options to... Alright, that way I can hear even when I'm off. Alright, and let's start a game. So you can approve the game. So while we wait for the game to start, I would like to launch a bit of discussion by asking our friends from outside the bubble. Can you tell us in like 2 words, one positive, one negative, whatever, how you perceive the EU and why you chose these 2 words? So why don't we start with Owen? Go ahead. 2 words. EU in 2 words.
Yeah, sure. So if I pick 2 words, I'd kind of probably pick to contradict 2 words. I'd probably say frustrating, but hopeful at the same time. For why I chose those 2 words in particular I'd say partially frustrating because my vision for what the EU can do and Europe as a whole, is much more than what it does at the moment. But hopeful at the same time that I think going forward, the future for the EU, is positive and is a lot better than what it's achieving at the moment.
All right, well, that's interesting. Tuberg, what about you?
Complex and rational, I might say, because EU is complex entity. It is divided politically and somehow a bit economically, but at the same time it is also united, and it is diverse and it is united at the same time. Moreover, it is situated in a complex global world we are in. So all of this makes the entire union a bit complex to understand, to get what is going on actually, and comprehend the mechanisms for solution. But also rational because EU is a successful entity for long that prevented war after the Second World War, that achieved its one of the greatest aims, economic and monetary union. Somehow, it's still progressing. Moreover, it's tackled and partially solved, at least to some extent, to solutions even in the global extent. So it is rational. It is trying to be constructive in a complex reality. So
that's well developed. Congrats. So we finished first round. Who succeeded? I passed. What about you, the others, Pablo, Owen?
I didn't make it, unfortunately.
I passed. You wouldn't believe it, but I passed the round. I made the cut.
Perfect. And Mikhail, tell us your 2 words to describe the EU.
Boy. Unfinished, and I also picked hopeful, and I've been trying to pick a different word ever since Owen said hopeful, but those were the 2 words I came up with. Unfinished because for obvious reasons it's an eternal work in progress, and it's hard to talk about in terms of what the whole project is, because you can on one hand talk about what it currently is and what it has been historically, and then there's the other hand of what its ambitions are to be, and that in one hand is both a source of frustration and a source of hope. So basically I ended up coming up with the same stuff that I was saying.
All right, well, that's good enough for me. Pablo, what do you think about this choice of words? Accurate, or would you have chosen something else on your side?
Yeah, no, they are. I mean, I've been impressed by the thoughtful that you've given to it. But indeed, I mean, I kind of agree with almost everything that it's been said, and I believe that hope is actually the word that I would pick as well, and even trustworthy. I mean, you always need to have some patience with the EU action, especially well, because there are a lot of countries with different interests, but still, I mean, if you have patience, the EU always at the end it will be there.
Yeah, we have a knack for putting ourselves in the jam and then finding solutions. That's pretty much the whole reason for UCO meetings, I would say. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I mean, to stay with you, Pablo, so I would say that as former head of social media for the Commission, you were pretty much on the front line when it came to dealing with citizens' expectation about the EU. So did it ever happen to you, like did it ever happen to you? Did you feel like sometime that the citizens were expecting too much or too little from the EU, from what you were able to see on the social media?
Well, the truth is that I mean, social media is a polarized environment, especially these days. But it is true that at the really beginning, of this process of actually going into social and trying to engage with citizens. I joined the commission in 2012, and during those days, actually, the main objective that we set out was to answer all possible questions and comments on social media. I was trying to be closer, as I said, but it is true that the expectation of the citizen are always higher when crises arise in Europe. So when there is a crisis or a problem, it is true that the all focus of the citizen turn into the EU, looking for answers, and also when they have, in a way, problems in their own countries, and we try always to stick to the facts and be practical and useful. That was one of the main, also the key part of the strategy, try to be useful for the people. But yeah, I mean, there's always I need to find the balance between the expectations and what the citizen expect and what the EU can actually do, and we have seen it with the beginning, especially of the pandemic.
There actually already a few reactions in chat. So Kurendib who's saying that, oh god, social media worker for European Commission, that must be toxic. Yeah, I can, even from the side of Parliament, I can confirm that, and we can talk about it later. And the second comment is big props to the YouTube channel of the European Parliament, showing that it has so few subscribers and so many crazies often flocking to the comment section there. Well, that's pretty much a big problem, I agree. So I'm still in game. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do.
You are a pro at this. No matter what you do, it'll be great.
But did you have a lot of crazies when you were as commission? Did you see? Do you have some interesting anecdotes? I would say.
Both. I mean, a lot. I haven't prepared for that, but the truth is that we even have, what we called our dear, closest trolls. I mean, there were actual, angry people online that were following us from the very beginning and stayed with us for 6-7 years, and every day they were posting, a comment, normally insults or angry comments. And at the end of the day, I mean, what I always try to say to my colleagues there is that, try to build up some kind of empathy. At the end of the day, when people arrive to the information that the European Commission is sharing, they probably have seen already a lot of things that have made them angry, that have made them, some kind of idea. They come with a preconceived idea. So try to be empathetic also, because you don't know what the people are also their daily lives living on. So respect, and we always try actually to engage with this kind of toxic, let's say, people, at least not for them, and not to actually try to convince them of anything, but for the community, for the entire community, to have at least all the positions.
I see what you mean. And I mean, even without working at the commission, I mean, there are some trolls that are known. I mean, being Spanish, I'm sure that you're very familiar with the Catalan activists who were very active on the EU social media for a time.
Yeah.
I suppose they still are these days.
I still see them in the Twitter comments.
Especially with Brexit, and I mean, I would say that those were the two main, let's say, attractions for trolls. One was Brexit, and the other one was the Catalan situation, the situation in Catalonia. Those were the two key trolls attractions, let's say.
Okay, oh, interesting. So moving back outside the bubble this time, I'm gonna go with Owen. So going back to the whole Brexit and EU situation. So the EU obviously focused quite heavily on Ireland in the context of Brexit, and I was wondering what were your expectations, and also the Irish people expectation regarding the EU in relation to Brexit, or what were your expectations? EU and Brexit. How did you imagine Brussels would be managing that?
I think personally, and kind of most people in Ireland, to be honest, weren't really expecting like anything per se. I think most people just assumed that the EU would just not really do anything and not really get involved. So it was quite welcomed when they did, and they fought so long and hard in Ireland's favour, if you know what I mean. Like, it could have been just as easy for the EU to go, no, we're not going to mess with 6-7 years of negotiations and then some for a country of 4 million people. So I think it was quite surprising when they did put in the amount of work and effort that they did for the sake of Ireland. And I think people saw that quite fondly. I think just after or just before, sorry, the transition period ended in January, the Irish opinion of the EU was the highest out of any country in Europe, or any member state, should I say. And it kind of shows that when the EU does, put in the effort to fight for the member states and the people, from those states, they appreciate it. So.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, that's well, that's good that we delivered in a way. Someone is not ready, so you can press space. But I think that the Irish part of Brexit, apart from the Article 16 blunder of last month, is a bit of a success story on for the EU. So that's, I think, was a positive aspect. But Mikhail, so you managed to join back. So you're from Denmark, and Denmark historically has also a special relationship with the EU. Like we always saw Denmark being pro-integration, but not too much. So I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about the Danish perspective on the EU and how you yourself relate to that.
Yeah, so the last time I was exposed to the at least 17,000 Danish opt-outs that still exist to this day was, I think it was in 2015. We had a couple of referendums on whether or not to abolish these opt-outs. And at this point, I had yet to become a ardent Brussels nerd, so I didn't understand anything and basically looked up, who did I vote for last time? What are they arguing for? All right, I'll go for that. And in retrospect, so the arguments being made at the time were basically nonsensical to the actual context of the vote from the opposition side. The vote in question was whether or not to abolish the opt-out on like Europol and police what's it called, cooperation, and it just seemed like our political communicators were completely disinterested in actually communicating what they meant should be like what's the implications of eliminating these opt-outs would be. So I do recall that the opposition to the opt-outs, to getting rid of the opt-outs, that is, the ones that just wanted us to keep the opt-outs, were making somewhat of an argument that if we opt into the police community, this will help sexual predators. Was a large campaign, or like child traffickers. It was something very, very weird, and I guess there was a niche argument to be made somewhere that they were just sticking on. And at the end of the day, what happened, of course, is we voted to keep the opt-outs. I assume on the basis of people didn't really look into it, and it was at the same time as we were having regional elections, so people were mainly out there, to give their favorite protest vote to the current national government, basically. So ever since then, I have been a little bit, I guess, confused or annoyed at least my member state's ability to communicate the benefits of European Union membership and the various institutions, and also just started going down the rabbit hole of like Googling European institutions and finding out there's 3 presidents, And
Yeah.
overall, anyone I talk to in Denmark, whenever anyone wants to listen, hey, would you like to talk about process politics, which is something I make a lot of friends with at the pub in Denmark, generally speaking. The response is usually, well, I like it, but I don't want them to control everything. To which I can usually answer, what is the thing that you don't like them controlling? To which there is a deep silence, and why did you bring this up, man? Again. So it seems like the Danish mentality on the European Union is the sort of standard passive, we're members, and I guess whatever we have now is good. I don't want more, I don't want less. I don't really think too much about it. And
Yeah,
I think that's a darn shame, basically.
The chat is having a bit of a similar opinion, because someone was saying that, so Chris saying that it didn't help that the pro-EU vote was basically, yes, status quo is good, and that's it. And personally, I can relate to your story, because I'm French, and the last time there was a referendum on the EU, it was for the adoption of the now dead so-called EU constitution, and it was just the arguments around it were just appalling, because the people against it were just talking about the Bolkenstein directive, that if you were to vote for the EU constitution, Polish plumber would invade France and take the job of the French workers, which was pretty much nonsensical, because we were talking about an institutional treaty, nothing going on with Polish plumber. So I can very much relate to that on the fact that usually people against the EU like to rely on fear, and that's also the people who support the EU don't know how to deal with it. So, for instance, I mean, in France, the best thing that the government at the time found to do to defend the treaty was actually to just send every single French house one paper version of the treaty, basically saying, okay, read it yourself and vote in favor, as if the regular citizen would understand what the hell is going on in an EU treaty. I mean, that's just begging people to do caricature and etc. I mean, Pablo, I'm sure that you will agree with me, but even people who are inside the bubble and work every day on that, sometimes we ourselves don't understand what the hell we wrote in our own text. So asking the regular Joe to understand just...
Of course. I mean, it's a crazy idea. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I mean, the EU, you need to in a way present it and defend it every day. I mean, we cannot ask the government that they are not used to, actually national governments, to do some kind of EU-oriented political campaign, because it is not going to happen. It is a matter of defending it every day and to actually put the focus on the benefits of it every day. I mean, and also the other way, you know, we have been talking for years about the Europeanization of the failures and the nationalization of the EU successes. But the point is to do it the other way as well. You know, a national success, it is also a European success. I mean, I am not angry, because I don't get angry that easily, but I don't like when, you know, certain national governments talk about the EU as if they were not part of it. It's like, no, the EU is saying A, or the EU, no, the EU, you are the EU as well. So, you know, plural.
Yeah, I mean, the EU is always it's always a perfect scapegoat for member state. But moving on, because Tuberg, you're becoming quite popular in the chat. And actually, there's a question in chat that links perfectly to what I wanted to ask you. So, you're Turkish, and it's no secret that the EU has a rocky relationship with Turkey, especially of the last few months. So I was wondering if you could tell us on whether this tension between the EU and Turkey ever affected your own perspective of Europe, or those of your friend and family. And at the same time, I'm going to ask you the question that is from chat, which is what is the current position of the Turkish government about EU ascension, and what does the average Turkish person think of the EU? So,
Thank you. I can say Turkey-EU relations can be characterized as neither with you nor without you. So I mean, it's a turbulent relation at the moment, but it was always contributing to both sides, as you see in the migration politics. Like Turkey is hosting 4 million refugees with many other migrants. For the question about current position of government, I can say, don't touch me, but let me in. Like, as you know, there's there's backsliding in democracy and rule of law in Turkey at the moment. Like government implements wrong policies in terms of domestic politics, and that is affecting the Turkey-EU relations very negatively. Even came to the verge of stopping the accession negotiations, so that it is not going no more. Like even when you look at the EU documents, membership is entirely out of the discourses. Like it's talk about privileged partnership. Actually, the government does not really want that. It tries to implement some policies. As you know, there is a migration deal, so-called migration deal between Turkey and EU. So if Turkey implements some good policies towards the EU, like for example, changing its anti-terror law and harmonizing it some other laws, like digitalizing Europeanizing the privacy laws, for example, and dealing with corruption, which is difficult at the moment. There will be visa-free travel between Turkey and EU, but it is very difficult at the moment due to the current situation. Like EU is trying to externalize migration to Turkey, and Turkey is trying to push the burden on the EU furthermore due to its limitations in domestic politics. So I can say the government is in a pretty difficult situation. Like, for example, even public, as the question also appeared, I guess, what does average person think of the EU? Average person, 58% of in the recent polls I saw, 58% of people in Metropol's survey recently appeared in January 2021. 58% of Turkish people think that they should be in the EU. Turkey should be in the EU. This was lower in the past because, like, Turkish people were thinking that whatever Turkey does, it will not be allowed into the EU because, after 2005, Turkey started its accession negotiations with the EU. However, the Cyprus problem is not solved yet, and there are some unilateral blockage of chapters, and Eastern Mediterranean problems still need to harmonize many laws and need to open new chapters. But these did not happen. I mean, the process came to standstill, so the negotiations stalled, and Turkish people, Euroscepticism among Turkish people increased furthermore even with this alliance of Eurozone crisis. Like people were starting to think that EU might soon disintegrate, which is something not realistic. Like for 50 years, everybody tells like EU will soon disintegrate, but as you see, for 50 years, it's still developing, and these people vanished out of the way who said EU will disintegrate. Anyways, the people saw in the recent economic crisis that Turkey should be in the EU. I mean, Turkey's future is in the EU. Majority of people think like that, actually. Erdogan recently said, like, Turkey's future is in the direction of Europe. I mean, Turkey's direction should be in Europe. But the problem is majority of the public do not believe that. Like, this is the problem in Turkey at the moment. Like, there are some reforms going on the elite level, bureaucratic level, but it is not really going through bottom up. So there needs to be in Turkey, like, just the initial start of the European project. European project was an elite project at the beginning, but lately it became democratized in through the 21st century. In Turkey-EU relations were also an elite project, but now it needs to be democratized. Turkey's engine should come up from the public. Like, public now supports Europeanization, and government maybe in possible future. I think that a possible change in government can further bolster the relations and accession negotiations. But for recently, there needs to be a revision of Turkey-EU deal, as you know, migration deal, because the situation is very dire at the moment. Because, you know, in Greece, in the islands, refugees are not in very pretty good conditions. There's political pressure on them, so there needs to be ease of the political pressure in Aegean Sea. Like, Greece and Turkey should agree upon the terms so that Turkey can take more refugees back from Greek islands, as Greek requested, and there needs to be more EU solidarity with Turkey and Syria and Turkey. As you know, there's economic crisis at the moment, so
yeah, it's never ending. I see what you mean. But yeah, definitely. I mean,
exactly.
I'm sure the question of Turkey accession is, I think, that's it's a difficult topic, I think, for everyone, especially in the EU, and sure there would be different perspective on that. But moving on to Owen, because we talked a bit, you touched upon that, Tuberg, but the question of how to make people more keen to join the EU, etc. So, Owen, you're an activist yourself. So, whenever you are having discussion, how do you go into converting people to the EU, so to say? How do you go? What's your go-to answer?
I think one of the best ways that I can go about it is one of the big benefits of being from such a small country in the EU is, I find that if you're from, say, Germany or France or something like that, and you're talking about these EU kind of talking points, right? For example, it's very easy for people to turn around and say, "Oh, well, Germany and France, are so big, they'd have them benefits with or without the EU," for example. But when I make them our same argument, it's very hard for people to turn around and say, such a small country on the edge of Europe would have the same benefits in terms of our economy and how the benefits that comes with that people were to go on Google and type in Ireland in just before we joined the EEC, before it was even the EU at the time, and have a look at what Ireland looked like, and then Google Ireland today and just notice the absolute you'd be completely blown away by the difference in development in Ireland since getting involved with the EU. And that's kind of one of the main things that I kind of talk about in terms of economic development. That before we joined the EU, it was always about people emigrating. You always see, in particular, say Irish Americans, for example, that there's more Irish people in America than there is in Ireland. For decades and decades of emigration, that kind of stopped because the jobs instead were coming to Ireland. There was no need to emigrate anymore. On top of that, I always go to freedom of movement. I remember I've been lucky enough to travel a lot around Europe, and I still remember the first time traveling to the United States, and the interrogation almost of when I just wanted to go on a holiday, being like, yo, what is this? You know what I mean? I was so used to just going to Europe and just walking through, show my passport, drive through borders, don't even notice I'm in another country until I saw a different language on the signs, and I'm like, this is just they're my main points basically. So
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
the economic development and just the freedom of movement in general are my go-to talking points in relation to the EU.
Okay. Well, those are good talking points. I mean, I'd say it's the best way to get people join. Someone needs to push the button to start the game. I don't know who is gentle adoring ninja, but
It's not me, yeah.
okay, who is it?
It's me. I was so lost in my talking points.
No problem. So that was the activist perspective. Pablo, how were you advising the commission to go about to connect with regular citizens, I would say?
Well, I would go first with the collaboration. And I mean, it's not just one single process or
Yeah, of course.
one single answer, but you need to collaborate. You need to go and talk to the government and then to talk to the people. You know, from a political perspective, you need to be available for the press of every single country or for all press as much as possible. You need to give answers. You need to participate in the debate to make yourself notice, you know, to make yourself presence not only in Brussels but in every country. I mean, the network that the European institutions have in the member states with the representation offices of the Commission and the information offices of the Parliament, that they have one or two in every single European country, European Union country. You need to use them. You need to give them resources. They are amazing people. They are amazing, professional, talented, committed, but they don't have the resources to actually do their job in the field that it should be. So collaboration for me is key, not only with these representation offices, but also with the national governments, and then to be useful and practical to the people actually, and you cannot and when crisis arise, you need to also to be empathetic. You cannot turn a blind eye on certain situation that is happening in the countries. You need to provide answers, especially for the people, and to show that you are good for them and you have something to add to their life, something positive, of course. And so that's for me. And then, of course, use all the propaganda tools that you have at your disposal to actually make your message arrive to the right people and the right moment. That's key as well. But it's a common process. That's what I would go with.
Yeah,
Collaboration.
I see what you mean. So I suppose that you would disagree with the current approach of von der Leyen to only speak to the German press. I imagine so.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
But actually, that brings up an interesting point. I think it's interesting, at least, is a bit of a paradox because. You could argue, I mean, I can definitely say that as French, I don't know about the other, but I have a suspicion that it's the case, that the national media rarely talk about the EU, if at all, which creates a bit of a paradox because the media do not talk about the EU because the regular people don't find it interesting and find it boring, but the regular people as well find it boring and uninteresting because the national media do not talk about it. So it's a bit of the chicken and the egg kind of paradox. What comes first? Should the media go first and make the effort to talk about the EU, or should it be the citizen who launch a campaign to force the media to talk about the EU? But I feel like there's definitely some efforts to be made. I know that in France, the government actually introduced some kind of financial advantages on public broadcaster to get people to speak about more about the EU or something like that. But
in my opinion, it has to be an integral approach. I mean, the point is that it is not only. I mean, it's one of these biggest lies ever told in the EU bubble. Like, oh, the media they don't listen to us with all with so many things, interesting things that we do. It's because we have not been selling product properly. Let's say it like that. We have not been communicated properly. We have not been telling a story, especially until 2014. I believe that after that date, the commission and the institution became a little bit more aggressive regarding communication. But we cannot blame the media for not talking about the EU. And I believe that when I say that it's integral, I believe that if the leaders in the member states, if the politicians, the prime minister, the president, talk more about the EU, the media will listen. There are different ways to set up the informative agenda. But we shouldn't tell the media what to do. They know their job perfectly fine. We need to find a story to tell and to participate in the stories that are already out there.
Okay, there's Ian is asking a trick question to you, Pablo. So, what does Pablo think of the spokesperson service compared to the SPP under President Juncker?
It's not Ian McCafferty, right? I hope not, but anyway.
Yeah. There's
What
only
do
one
I
Ian
believe
out
that
there.
they are great professionals, that they have a very difficult job. I mean, take into account that we're talking about the only institution that has press conference every single day. The only institution in the world. These guys go out there every day to answer all questions or to try to answer all questions that come from the journalists. The journalists are doing their job. The spokesperson service are doing their job. I mean, they do have also a framework in which they can work with, and also they need to use a diplomatic language that sometimes it is difficult to explain or too difficult that kind of language reaches the people. But it's a difficult job. It's a really difficult job. And of course, I have my favorites in that spokesperson service, but they do honestly. I believe this honestly. They are doing a great job. They are doing everything. Can be improved, of course, and they will make mistakes, and they have made mistakes. They are human, but it is not an easy job, and I know by heart that they are putting all their efforts and their passion into it. We cannot forget either that this commission is 1 year old. It's true that the pandemic and everything, and it was not the plan, it was not planned that the pandemic all of a sudden, hit us all. I honestly believe that they are doing a great job. I, of course, think that the Juncker spokesperson service was one of the best teams that I have been able to work with. So how at the end of the day, it's like it is impossible for me to say otherwise than the Juncker spokesperson service was absolutely amazing from a professional and personal point of view.
Yeah, and I agree. Someone needs to press the button, but since we're talking about the Juncker commission, I always felt like the communication was better in a way because there was a personality to sell the point. Juncker, whether you like him or not politically, the guy is a personality. You cannot not think anything about Juncker. The guy is out there. He's definitely not the usual Eurocrat, and I think it helps selling the story. And he's a committed European. I think one of the memorable thing I saw in Brussels was his last briefing at the Commission, where the guy is bursting into tears because he's saying, "Okay, I'm leaving, but Europe will stay with me," and the guy believes it. He's a committed European, and he gave everything to the EU, which I think...
Yeah, everything. His entire life, huh?
Yeah,
his entire political life, huh?
He gave everything, and so I think... Oh, okay. People got kicked. I don't know who is missing. I will reinvite everyone, so that's done. But yeah, linking to the idea of the personality as a selling point, Mikhail. So again, Danish. I'm sure, I mean, it's no secret to you that your commissioner is Margrethe Vestager, who is one of the rock star of the commission and the EU in general. And I mean, she's a big personality, if I'm not mistaken. She's even like, she inspired the TV show Borgen. So do you feel that back home, having a personality like Vestager had an impact on how the EU is perceived by Danish people?
I think it, yeah, definitely. I think it was a big part in changing the amount of attention paid to the EU at large. Probably. Hold on, let me just press that in back there. Oops, the daisies. Technology is hard. Yeah, no, like oftentimes the way that the media coverage of the European Union happens is very much on the like on the grounds that the government of the day gets to define it as. Like recently with the when the top jobs were being negotiated, whenever Vestager was not the thing being person and that thing being talked about, it was usually just Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen getting to define the narrative. Basically, she poses her own questions and then answers them in essence. But specifically with Vestager, the crown jewel of people our previous government tried to send to Brussels to sort of get rid of her from the government. Yeah, people are aware of her portfolio, but basically not much else, I suppose, and feel a sense of pride that, I guess, oh yeah, the Danes, we're taking care of Google, I guess, or something to that extent, ignoring entirely the French commissioner who's Breton.
Yeah, Thierry Breton.
Yeah.
Someone is missing. I will let you continue. Who is missing? There, we're only three.
I believe it's Pablo.
Pablo?
It's me?
I will re-invite you. I think it will help. Who is who in there? Who is gentle adoring ninja?
That's me.
So, Owen, okay. Weird green eater.
That's me.
Okay, Pablo. So we are missing. Who are we missing?
Why I am alone here. Probably I'm in another
Okay, I'm re-inviting you.
Game. Okay, launch game. Okay.
No, on Vestager.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, leave the group. Everyone leaves the group. I will resend invite to everyone. Okay.
Oh damn.
I just close. Okay.
Okay.
Did we do it?
I still see only 3 of us.
I'm getting in. I was just closing down the game, sorry, and opening it again.
Video games are really difficult. Not gonna lie.
We did say that we were not pro gamers, so I mean, I feel like we took every single precautions towards the audience. Let me just have a look in the meantime to the chat. So yeah, a lot of fans of Juncker and Vestager, so that I can definitely relate to.
I have a question for Pablo, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So Pablo, on the question of like social media and communication strategies, you touched on the idea that like there needs to be more, stories told, and I suppose you mean that in opposition to just being informative. Like, my least favorite communication stuff on the Commission's YouTube channel is a video about plant passports, where there's footage of a lady going through what looks like a airport security with a potted plant, and the agent is mad at her, and then she shows a certificate, which that video I'm guessing is not meant for a wide audience, but that's the sort of like most informative style infographic video you come across. And I guess the opposite of that would be stuff like, well, the more dramatic trailers for policy that are currently happening in the Commission's YouTube channel. Like today, communication is like this series of teasers and trailers for the European climate law, which are wonderful and dramatic. But how do you storify something which is already happening, rather than like it would seem obvious that the status quo of the Commission's work is something that you would usually tell in an informative way. And so how do you storify that to make it something more exciting and relatable to people, essentially, is the question. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes total sense. I mean, and it's always the question that we used to ask ourselves when we were facing a new campaign, a new communication, a new priority that we needed to communicate about. And at the end of the day, I mean, we have to, and everyone has to come to the conclusion that not everything is for everyone, and there is no one message that to fit them all. That fits them all. It is just you need to find the right message for the right audience, and sometimes a part or a section of a policy area is the piece more interesting for one segment of the audience, of the citizens. So I mean, there was this confusion always in the institutions that we have this. It is a huge package. It is an amazing work that everyone has done. We need to sell it, and we need to sell it to everyone. Now, I mean, there are people that might be interested in specific parts of this legislation or of this initiative, and we need to find them, and we need to transform this information in something that is understandable. I'm not saying plain English, because there are, to use technicism is not bad. To infantilize the population is. So if you are using, because you're obliged to sometimes to use technicism, just explain them. At the end of the day, the segmentation of the audience for me is key. And then again, focus on the story more than on the policy that you have in your hands, and try to build up a story. And then you need to not just be creative, but also be brave and be also resilient. I mean, and as an anecdote, we were implementing ideas in 2019 that we had in 2012, because they just didn't fit that moment or that particular moment of time. So I always used to tell my colleagues, just don't give up, and do not throw your work into the bin. Just keep it, save it, and because we might be able to use it in a later stage and for all the campaigns. It is a difficult job, but it's exciting as well.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, and I think it raised also an interesting point. And I see like Cohen Deep in the chat says that a lot of political communication online feels like it's written for children, and it relates to one point I wanted to discuss, which is the attitude that exists in Brussels, in the bubble, in a way to excuse our lack of efficacy when it comes to communication, to just say, oh, if people don't like the EU, it's just because they are ignorant, because they don't know, which I feel is like a bit arrogant and paternalistic towards people, and doesn't help, because I mean, yes, people are not EU experts, but doesn't mean that they're stupid, and that I think that this kind of approach of communicating about the EU as if we were talking to children, actually this does not help, quite the contrary.
No, not at all. Yeah.
And it's just also like us not facing the reality is just that, oh no, it can't be anything, I can't have done anything wrong, it must be the other who's just not understanding. And in a way, it's not like
Also,
putting
the
us in
point,
questions.
no, but what you were saying, I mean, to make something understandable doesn't mean to infantilize it, and that's a mistake that is happening a lot in politics in Spain, a lot actually. I was even surprised, but we have a tendency to believe that social media is still for kids, and that we need to talk to kids. No, I mean, we're not talking to kids, we're talking to professionals, we're talking to different people, we're talking, we cannot infantilize the conversation, because if you do that, you're building a society that is not the society that can build a proper future.
Completely makes sense. Tuberg, you've been silent for a while, and we've been monopolizing a bit the attention. As an outsider, I don't want to say an outsider like that, but as someone who is not in the EU per se, I imagine that the media in Turkey must be talking about the EU even less so than we are in the EU. So, how is the EU talked about in the Turkish media, generally speaking? Is there like whenever a big event happens, or is there a kind of an actual following of what the EU does?
In general, Turkish media follows the EU through big events, not only with Turkey-EU relations regarding Turkey-EU events, but also the events within the EU, like when the EU, for example, closes its borders, this has news value in Turkey within the media, or when EU opens the borders again for, easing the lockdown. This has also news value in Turkey, but keep that in mind. The mainstream value in Turkey is much became like a government media, even supporting government, or making their perception always accorded to government. But in social media, the EU is much discussed. Actually, you can see every day there are many events about EU. How is EU's future? What about EU Green Deal? What about EU digitalizing? Or how can we deal with migration politics between EU and Turkey? So it is pretty much discussed, actually. In Turkey, when you look at the social media, especially scholars organize many events for students and public. Also, business circle organize events such as EU. Like EU itself sometimes organizes events with civil society, that these are also discussed. Like they support civil society and many other sectors, and there are some informative events for public. So these are the main discussion points in Turkey about the EU, actually.
Okay, interesting. Okay, Pablo, I'm re-inviting you now.
Right.
The chat actually, it's funny because the chat finds us to be too informed. We know too much, so they would have preferred if we had more dumb guests. So you know too much, guys. I'm sorry, but Koen DB is saying again, so that once she had the chat with a woman who really was not in the bubble, so chat about EU politics at all. It was an eye-opening experience and mental. So I asked him to tell us a bit about it, because it's indeed interesting when you talk about people who actually have no knowledge at all about the EU. So sometimes when you work in parliament, you get to see those as part of groups of visitors, or when you're doing like a communication outside. For instance, I remember so in 2019, a bit before the elections, I was doing a Ask Me Anything session on Reddit, literally like a couple of months before the election, and the title of the Reddit post is "The European elections are coming. Ask me anything." And there's these guys who ask me, okay, well, but are MEPs actually elected? And you're like, oh my god, we are 2 months before the election and people are still not aware that MEPs are elected. That was very depressing, and I had also a similar experience in the parliament. Like my MEP was inviting, or I don't think he was inviting, but we were when the parliament have group of visitors. Oh shit! I forgot to start playing actually. So when the parliament has visitors, they ask sometimes MEPs or their staff to come talk to people, to tell them about their job. And once I was doing that on behalf of my boss, and I got this one question from someone who is visiting the European Parliament and who is asking me, but are MEPs actually elected? I was like, yes. I was looking nervously at the person who was doing the presentation for the Parliament. I was like, okay, did you actually do your job and tell them what was the Parliament about? But yeah, it definitely leads sometimes to weird but interesting conversation at the same time. So Chris says saying in chat, it's why the EU really needs to stop to up its PR game. Yeah, I think we will have a strong amen from everyone on that. But Owen, as an activist who talks about the EU on the regular, did you have like weird experience or interaction with people that you try to talk about the EU, like weird reaction, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I've had a good few kind of weird interactions. In particular, the past 12 months, where most of the like quote unquote activism has been done online, it's much harder to kind of know who you're talking to. So in real life, people are probably less likely to, which is probably a good thing in a real way, but online, people are more likely to probably speak their mind and say, what they actually think. One particular example, just something kind of weird, was we were hosting a talk about Brexit and about the rejoin movement on Discord, similar to this. And throughout the entire 2 hours, conversation, we actually had an MEP on giving a discussion. We had Brexiteers joining, playing Rule Britannia over their mics over and over for 2 hours. You'd kick them, they'd rejoin and play Rule Britannia and finish shows. So that's kind of what you're up against most of the time. That a lot of times people don't really want to engage, in kind of good faith debate. It's kind of more like, my point is my point, and like there's nothing you could do to change that, which is fair enough. But that's kind of what you're up against a lot of the time from kind of the anti-EU side in a way.
Yeah, I can imagine some. I mean, sometimes it's weird when you see people who are out there just to score points, and it's ridiculous, but they're just like that, and you have to just, well, not play along, but accept that it's a thing, even if it's sometimes for ridiculous reasons. But let me check if in my list of questions that I had prepared for you guys. So yeah, Owen and Tuberg again. So you're both students at the moment, and so I was wondering, from the point of view of younger generation, I don't consider myself old, but I accept that there are people who are younger than me. So from the point of view of younger people, is the EU anywhere on the radar? Like, do people talk about the EU?
Yeah, I just spoke, so I'm happy to let Tuborg go first if he wants, or I can go first. It makes no odds to me. But yeah, if you'd like to speak first, that's fine.
Okay, that's fine. For Turkish generation, I can say that EU is pretty appearing with its economic opportunities and education opportunities. Like, young generation want to see themselves in the EU, but also within the EU, they want to have education, like pretty quality inside Europe. They want to study in EU, at least many of them. So it has really sense and value. Apart from that, EU is really valuing young generation uh, in terms of growing up educated people about European politics, EU politics. Like in Turkey for 20 years, no, more than 30 years, there's Jean Monnet scholarship given to like approximately every year 150 people. A scholarship that allows people to study in the EU and later on serve the Europeanization of Turkey in order to finally develop the process. But in terms of education, I mean, learning about Europe and European Union, I saw comments that it is very that there's, for example, sad truth that people know not much about the EU. From the beginning of the stream, I told that EU is a complex entity. I study about EU for 3 years. I still don't know much, I can say. Like, I know about EU history, I know about EU laws and institutions, EU-Turkey relations, but it's still complex. It's still not easy to understand, to grasp. Like, you can easily get your national point of view, or you can easily get your national identity, but it is very difficult to get some kind of solid meaning of EU. But when you face the outside challenges, you start to feel more European, the more EU. Like when you face the global difficulties, or like, for example, Green Deal, EU is ahead. You see the movements appear more in the EU than anywhere else about the green world, about the green Europe. Like when you face the human rights difficulties, it is the EU defending, usually appearing with the narratives. So actually, the outside challenges EU is facing unites the EU. I can say also recent security problems between Turkey and EU also, in a sense that contributes to united EU anyways. But for example, when you look at the world is coming up with centers of power like US, China, and Europe. In order to stand independent, sovereign, I mean, giving your own decision, the EU should be politically united. This is what fundamentally politicians argue for, and this is what an average EU citizen and young person should be aware of. We are in a new reality. I mean, in 21st century, it is pretty globalized. There are power centers, and EU in these power centers can only deal with global problems united.
All right, Owen, your turn.
I should have went first. Yeah, so I'd say in general, the youth in Ireland are quite disenfranchised from politics in general, not even just particular the EU. I think going off the last general election last year in Ireland, where only 21% of 18 to 34-year-olds voted in the election, kind of shows you just how much young people don't really participate in politics here. So in general, that too kind of leads to most young people not really knowing much about the EU, more than just, okay, I don't need to get a visa if I want to go on my holiday to Spain kind of thing. However, at a college level, that tends to change. I don't think there's a single degree in Ireland where you don't have the opportunity to do Erasmus. And most people in Ireland who study at university will go on Erasmus at one stage or another. My opportunity was unfortunately last year, so that never actually happened because of obviously the corona pandemic. But even in a degree like computer science, it doesn't have to be just a language degree or something similar. You have the opportunity to do Erasmus here, so people feel at a college level quite connected to EU in regards to that. But even then, unless kind of like Turberg said, you're studying this kind of your degree level is European affairs or something. I'd say most young people don't really understand the EU much more than kind of freedom of movement and okay, we used to have the Irish pound, but now we have the euro extent, basically.
Yeah, I see your point. Even among those who know about the EU, who studied it, sometimes the knowledge, I would say, ramps up the expectation about the EU. I mean, myself, I remember when I arrived in Brussels for the first time. I was a young, wide-eyed federalist who was expecting the EU to solve all the problems in the world. I mean, and as I spent time in the bubble trenches, I mean, I don't want to say that I became disenchanted, but more realistic about what the EU actually does and can do, and that's part of the job that I had to do later whenever I was talking about with citizens as part of my job of assistance or beyond that. It's like to try to manage expectation from people, to say, okay, well, we would like the EU to do a lot, but sometimes that's just not what it does. It's not meant for that to do that. And Pablo, I imagine that you were mentioning that at the beginning, that part of your job was also to deal with this kind of managing expectations.
Yeah, of course, and not only managing expectations coming from citizens, also managing expectation from certain people in communications departments or in policy department, that they believe that either their policy area was the most important thing that they have ever done, important thing for the people, or even also overselling, and that's probably a problem that we have seen at the very beginning of the pandemic as well. The overselling and the overpromising. To be able to do politics in that way, or political communication in that way, you actually need to make sure that everyone understands the competencies of the EU, and not everyone does, of course. It's naive to think that. But yeah, of course, the managing expectation, not only from citizens, that they want more Europe, and we have seen that during the pandemic times, but also coming, internally sometimes, the managing expectations as well.
I mean, my full expectation is that the council gets abolished like any moment, basically, and the federal European Union just comes out of the ashes, like basically on Tuesday. But I don't know about you guys.
I would not expect that anytime soon. No, personally do I think it would be a good idea. And actually, that's perfect, because that brings me to the next point I wanted to raise. Actually, a question to the non-Eurobubble guests. So, when you think about the EU, do you think about it as a country, like France, Spain, or Turkey, or do you think of it as a pure organization, like the UN, the United Nations?
Me?
Everyone, apart from Pablo.
Me personally, I guess both. I can think of it both in terms of my, idealist sense, as well as my, realist and sort of incrementalist sense. I understand why the council is there, why it protects, smaller member states' interests, etc. And at the same time, I can feel a lot of frustrations that the EU is consistently defined by how it manages in crises and only gets to play defense when it comes to how it's, defining its character on most days of the year. And think that when I listen to a good Verhofstadt speech, like, damn, that's some energy there. I like that, But at the same time, realize that there's a reason that things came to be the way they are. And the other thing, a couple of days ago, I was actually speaking to Beck about that in another chat. That like it makes sense, but the things are the way they are. But I remain hopeful that somehow political unity exists somewhere out there, and not just in the back of my imagination.
Okay. What about you, Owen? EU country or organization?
I'd kind of say a little bit about as well. I think I'd lean more towards a country in terms of, I'd probably refer to the EU as like one single thing a lot when I'm talking about European politics. Say in relation to the vaccine rollout or something recently. Whenever I'm talking about the EU, it's almost like I'm talking about a single nation to an extent. But it's very much an organization of countries at the moment anyway, and that's kind of what I would think about it. Basically a bit of both. Personally more a country, but I do understand it's mostly an organization of countries at the moment, although who knows what will happen.
What about you, Tubek?
Sorry.
What about you?
I think EU is neither an organization nor a country. EU is a supranational institution that is like a building, which its shape is like whole Europe, but it's based on different countries. Without one of these, it is neither Europe nor Union. So that EU is some unique political entity, we can say. It's an unfinished political entity. Like, for example, health competence is not at the European level, but on the national level. Or, for example, migration, to some sense, at the national level. So there are competences, like in different areas. European level has more say, but in other areas, like there are countries, there are nations saying. European nations have their saying.
Yeah,
So
I can recognize the international relations student in you. In the answer, well, it's in between a country and an organization, and I think that's, in terms of perception, that's one of the issue I see, is that given that the EU is more or less in our everyday life and people are now more conscious about it, especially since Brexit, they have expectations like the ones they have of their own member states. Well, in fact, the EU is an organization, so they can't do everything like a member state. So you don't see the UN being judged as harshly as the EU can be. But Pablo, how do you stand on that?
Exactly. Yeah. The citizens, the European citizens, in my opinion, should not expect everything from the EU. Sometimes the solutions, actually this shows success of the EU, because when you look at the beginning, initial process of coronavirus, the economic recession appearing and health problems, the major perception and expectation was that people expected solution from the European level rather than their own national level. Like, for example, especially Italians or Greece expected in different crises solution at the European level, for example, but health competence was not at the European level. Like, EU did not have pretty much control over health. If it was up to EU, the European response would be more effective than the different national responses in terms of health policies. Like, at the economic level, for example, EU emerged as a as an organization for solution. People expected solution, and EU emerged with a solution. That's something actually European citizens must be happy of. And now you see this new standards like green economy and green initiatives. Like, I think you can only understand the value of EU if you go to some other country, like live in sometime US or outside EU, somewhere outside EU. From the way of the quality of your water to the quality, I mean transportation, availabilities of transportation, EU sets the standards even in global dimension. So yeah, I mean we can say that expectations might sometimes directed at EU, although it is not EU's competence. That shows unconsciously people actually recognize EU's success and EU's way of solution to problems.
I don't know if they recognize like that the EU is the solution, but more than people want answers, they want solutions, so they try to look for the solution where it is. So like, oh, my member state is failing. What about the EU? Why isn't Europe doing? Doesn't mean that deep down they want the EU to have this kind of competence. Like, I'm sure that if you had asked people like 2 years ago if they wanted the EU to have a health policy, they would have said no, we don't want, because people would have said, oh no, we don't want the EU to decide on vaccine, to decide what vaccine we can buy, to deal with our hospitals, that kind of thing. It's just that the EU and public opinion is created by needs, so they will see the EU as a solution only when the needs arise.
Exactly, and the nation state alone cannot respond to problems of globalization era. I mean, era of globalization. Only at the European level you can give an effective response, and this is what happened in recent times.
I mean, I can only agree to that. That's part of the reason I went to work in Brussels. But yeah, what about the other Pablo? Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're totally right. At the end of the day, that's something that I believe that we cannot forget, is that the EU is and will be whatever, its member states want it to be. So, I mean, they are the ones who have the first and the last word. They set up the direction. They put on the table, the topics to legislate about, to debate about. So the point is that it's going to be always on the member state side to decide exactly what kind of EU they want to. So, but the important lesson that we might extract also from this pandemic is the fact that we need to actually open the debate at political level regarding the competencies of the EU, because we do not have the same wall than we had 10 years ago, not even 5 years ago. And of course, a huge project like the EU takes time to adapt, but that's something that they need to work on. And of course, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, as I said, the EU will be whatever the member states want it to be. And if the people and the citizens want a different European Union, they need to push their own politicians to actually, present their ideas, their projects, and their direction regarding the EU.
Amen to that.
I mean, go on.
No, go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
I was just about to say, you think they should figure out these questions about the sort of future of this Europe through some sort of conference, is what you're suggesting?
Well, I think they need to discuss as well, the future of the conferences themselves. The future of the conferences and the naming of the actual conferences of the future. because my God, what a story! But it's always an opportunity, and there are always surprises in this kind of convention. So I do not have my hopes high for this future of Europe conference that we don't know when it's going to start. But the point is that there are always surprises, and it is also true that they already said that this will not open a formal convention to change the treaty or whatsoever. They said that there will be no red lines, but the red lines is the change of the treaty. So it's always good to talk about the EU, to talk about the kind of future that we want together, and if we want a future together. But it would be great if those discussions lead to action.
Yeah, then again, I see again the problem of expectation, because the council, everyone goes into, oh yeah, well, we're gonna have this big conference, it's gonna be great, we're gonna change, make the EU better. And so you get people to hope, okay, that's great, we can actually get things done in the EU, that's great. But then you'd say, well, actually, it's only... You will be allowed to change things only as far as it suits us, and you can only disappoint people and frustrate people when and let them feel a bit tricked. When you tell them, yeah, you can think about things, but in fact, no.
I have a question for you, Mep Assistant, in this regard, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Every time I think of this dilemma, sometimes I tend to go back to a very standard, boring but also exciting solution, which is isn't the sort of blanket for it usually just MEPs should have the right of initiative on legislation, because really that sort of puts it at the democratic legitimacy level, because defining the future of a project outside of developing new competencies every crisis, which is the problem of playing defense every now and again, it does seem the only sort of natural way to do it, as far as every time I try to think about it. Where do you see the parliamentary initiative in this sort of equation?
I see what you mean. Well, the parliament would definitely love to have the legislative initiative. And that's actually the main difference between the European Parliament and national parliament that you can find back home, is that the European Parliament cannot propose law. And there was during this parliament a big push to try to achieve that, but member states, since they are the first and the last, they all the first and the last words. They don't want the parliament to have that, because that would mean relinquish control of things. And to an extent, if I put myself in the shoes of the council, I can understand that, because they see parliament as unpredictable, and the members say don't like what is unpredictable.
And they don't like the lack of vetoes and specific competencies.
Beyond that, it's not necessarily a question of vetoes, because you always have the council remains a co-legislator, so you would still have trilogue. They would still have a say, just that it would make things more complicated for them, because they know that the parliament would want to go into more like core member state competencies, and also they are wary of the personalities of MEPs, which to an extent I can understand. I mean, when you are a member state and that you see MEPs from the Partei or the hardcore far-right people, I mean, I would be scared as well to have these people decide they have the right of initiative on EU legislation. So
basically, they see it as another level of just complication for an
already. Yeah, exactly. For them, it's just a layer of complication. Whenever you go into negotiation in trilogues between Parliament and the Council with the Commission, 99% of the time, the Council answer to what the Parliament comes with is, well, it's not practical. It's complicated. We don't want to do that. So it's it's a lot of trying to calm down the parliament, saying, yeah, well, no, actually, you can't do that. And I imagine that the council, I mean, coming from the parliament, of course, I mean, I feel way closer to the parliament than to the council. But yeah, the council definitely sees us as this kind of weird guys that they have to manage, like the weird uncle. Okay, we have to deal with his family, but okay, I'm the one who's deciding. And to an extent, it's legitimate because they are the members that are actually the ones deciding.
Yeah. I'm thinking gonna throw myself into the lava pit here because concentrating on speaking and being at the very end of the game is very stressful. And yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. It's just like it seems to be the other than just the. I think is it the Jean Monnet quote? The EU will be forged in crisis.
Yep.
It's like there are those two paths basically, right? Where the EU ends up playing defense whenever there's a crisis, and people go, "Damn, why are they failing us on this thing that they totally didn't have a competency on, and we didn't tell them that it didn't have a competency on." And then that cycle continues. You can become an excellent defense player and an excellent communicator, and have an excellently educated public on which competencies exist. But it just seems like it's in this state of, as Tupac put it the other day, equilibrium, where it just.
Disequilibrium.
Excuse me. The baton is onto you. By me calling you.
Okay. So I just looking at the time. So I think it's time to wrap up. So I will leave you do your final remarks on EU perception and engagement with citizens. To sum up what you think would be necessary, tell me in a few sentences. So, Tuberg, you go first.
Okay, I will be short this time. I just want to say for public, EU should find a way to give its citizens some kind of device for meaning, because people really need in the globalized world, in a complex world, to be able to give meaning to problems they face in their daily life, in terms of global coronavirus. It is so meaningless how suddenly everybody is at their houses. I mean, there's lockdown, the economic problems, health problems, etc. But this did not come from EU, but EU is standing in solidarity in this process. So the EU should come up with a new narrative that can give the perception to average European citizen, at least.
Okay. Mikhail, go ahead.
Europe should listen to the kids on the floor of the Parliament and less industry lobbying groups that want to define what a Green Deal means. Yes.
I would disagree very much with that, but that's another conversation. Owen, go ahead.
Yeah, I think quickly, I think Pablo kind of touched on this briefly, but I think very much EU citizens need to take the initiative into their own hands. If we sit around waiting for the perfect platform to discuss the EU with EU officials, etc., we'll be waiting around almost indefinitely. I think we should very much just deal with and take the initiative as EU citizens ourselves. Make the discussions happen yourself. Talk about policies yourselves and with other friends and family. You don't have to sit around waiting for the perfect platform on a pedestal is handed to you.
All right. Pablo, what about you?
Yeah, well, I believe that the EU needs to probably stop thinking too much about the slogans and start thinking a lot about which kind of a story they want to tell the people. And of course, as always, try to be try to listen to them and try also to interact with them. I mean, to lose a little bit the fear. In order to for a communication campaign, for any communication to be effective, you need to be a little bit disruptive, but and courageous. So be brave and try to actually think a little bit more about the story, the global, the common story that you want to tell.
Well, I think that's a very nice way to end the debate. I do believe that in the end, politics is all about storytelling. So I can only agree very much with what you said, Pablo. So guys, thanks a lot of you to all of you for joining me tonight. It was really interesting discussion, and I hope that the audience enjoyed it as well. I see in the chat that there are wild discussion about transnational lists, federalism, etc. So I'm very glad that we triggered a debate and discussion in the chat. So chat, before going, make sure to thank our guest of tonight, because it was great having them, and you can see that we have great people on the Discord, so join Discord. To wrap up on my side, so just to give a bit of an update on the streaming schedule. So this week I'll be grinding a bit Twitch to upgrade the channel, because there are requirements in terms of streaming time. So I'll be streaming as well on Thursday and Sunday nights at the same time as usual, so 8:30. I'll be continuing the campaign of the Landag that we started last week. So feel free to come over and chill and talk with me. It'll be nice. And for the more serious stuff, next Tuesday will be the very first MEP interview we will have on Twitch, on this channel, with the German socialist MEP Timo Wolken, who is himself on Twitch. So be sure to be back next week at 8:30 to follow the interview and ask your own questions. And on this note, I thank you all again for being there tonight. Thank you to my new followers, and I wish you all a good night. I will see you soon. Bye bye.